Today we have Tim Rhode on the Investing for Freedom podcast. And I'm really excited about this episode. If there's a guy that really just, I guess, mirrors what I really want out of life, it's Tim Rhode. One of the things that, when I asked him the question, what is the piece of advice you find yourself sharing the most? He's like, go out there and live your most fulfilling life. You're just going to love the passion and energy that this guy brings to life in general, but he'll bring that out in the episode. Tim has this saying called "get the goods in the woods," and everywhere we go, anytime I've ever been with Tim, all he wants to do is go out snowboarding, be outside, go mountain biking. He's just a guy that's so full of energy. Here's what's really cool. When we talk about investing for freedom, I think Tim's been retired for like the last 3 decades or 4 decades or something like that. I'm going to probably slaughter the amount of time, but Tim went after what he really wanted at, kind of a pretty young age and retired and started investing passively. And I mean, he's lived that way. I literally think for like 3 decades or something. So let's get into the show. You guys are really going to appreciate this. Here's Tim Rhode.
Are you looking for freedom? Freedom from the daily grind and hustle? Or just finding a way to live the life you always wanted? Then join us on the Investing for Freedom podcast. Our host, Mike Ayala, will help you discover new ways to find freedom with tips, insights, and interviews. You'll learn the exact systems he's used to travel the world and live his best life. True success and happiness are all about freedom. And here's your roadmap on how to find freedom on your own terms. Welcome to the Investing for Freedom podcast. Here's your host, Mike Ayala.
Our guest on the show today is Tim Rhode, who has become a mentor of mine over the last year. Tim is one of the founders of GoBundance, which we will get into more later. But one of the main reasons I wanted to have Tim on the show is because he's lived, for many years now, what I like to call his best life. He has designed his life around the freedom number and really commits his time to doing what makes him happy and giving back to others as well. We're going to get into some awesome things today. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Michael. I look forward to helping your guests dream, plan, and live their very best life possible.
Tim, we're really excited to have you, buddy. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to dive right into the 4 questions. So question number 1 that I always ask my guests is, who's had the greatest impact on your life, Tim?
I'd have to say a series of mentors. I barely graduated high school. I never went to college, but I've stayed in the University of Life. And if you could name somebody that had a program or was a motivational speaker or taught sales or negotiation, anything I could learn, I was just a sponge. So there's just not one name, but just a series of teachers and mentors that I sought when the student was ready as that came up.
That's awesome. So number 2, if you could narrow it down to one thing that has had the greatest impact on your success, what would it be?
I would say my daily tenacity. There's just not a single day of the year that I don't wake up around 4 or 5 in the morning saying, let me out.
That's awesome. So what was your greatest setback and what did you learn from it?
I think it would be like when my parents split up when I was 12, my life really went awry. And it took me until like 25 to get it together. And then I married the wrong lady. And so when I first started my career and I'm just starting to rock and roll, I went through a divorce myself and with 2 young children. So those 2 things were the biggest setbacks. What I loved is the outcome though, is my ex now lives in Reno, Nevada, as do all my kids, her kids, and we're one giant family unit where we get together for all the holidays. So.
Wow, that's amazing how you guys have been able to keep that together. And I really appreciated when we were in Aspen, you kind of shared that story with me. And I love the, I guess just the way that you guys have, looked past all that and stayed together as just a family and a group. So that's pretty cool. I commend you for that. So number 4, what is the piece of advice you find yourself sharing the most?
The piece of advice I share the most, I would say it's just what my gig is. How do you find your most fulfilling life and go after it with passion? Because that's just where my heart is. So I find people, whether I'm mentoring somebody in prison or somebody who's a GoBundance champion, anything in between, I just love to focus on that piece of life and how do you make it happen?
That's cool. I love the way that you say your most fulfilling life. I love the way that different people, best life, your most fulfilling life, I love the way you say that. So I appreciate that. Cool. So one of the main reasons that I decided to do the Investing for Freedom podcast is to really expose our listeners to people like you that have determined what freedom looks like, or as you said, your most fulfilling life, and have designed their life around that, whether it's through different income streams, different businesses around what they really want. So first off, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just tell our listeners what your life looks like today. What's an ideal for you, an ideal day? What is your most fulfilling life?
Well, first of all, let me tell you what fulfilling means to me. It's success with depth. If you think about it, there's really two mountains in life. And the first one is the mountain, I think most of you are climbing right now. It's success. It's financial freedom. It's finding relationships that work for you and being part of teams and stuff like that, successful groups, and making great things happen. So that's mountain number one. Mountain number two is when you've done that and you have that financial freedom and everything you always wanted, figuring out along the way, what the heck is that? And how can I do that over and over? So today I find my life focused on four things. One, family. They're all close. I'm really fortunate. A great day for me includes a walk with my wife and my dog on a sunny day. Just walking around the neighborhood and talking about her things. That's a really good day. So family, finances are all done. I spend like 5% of my time on wealth building and stuff, just monitoring money. My main passion is our charity, One Life Fully Lived. And as some of your listeners probably know, I like to get the goods in the woods and keep I'm 60 years old, and I think I have the financial fitness of somebody in their 30s, and the mental, still getting up around 4 or 5, saying, "Let me at him." That geist for life. So that's what fulfilling looks like to me, and having an amazing view, which I'm looking out at snow-capped mountains, just this nice mountain range after mountain range after mountain range, and I've skied that, so. It's I've created this just magnificent life for myself. And it's kind of like I've seen Oz, and I want to take as many with me as possible.
Man, that is just so exciting. Like, it's just such an inspiring story. And I got to tell, just for our listeners that don't know you, what I love about you, Tim, is like you bring this level of energy. This isn't just for the podcast. Like, this is the level of energy you bring to everything you do. And I commend you for that. I just really have to say thank you for that, because every time you show up, you're the same way. It's just always full out. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, that's because I have found, I talked about this before, this fulfillment triangle. I figured out, where do I fit and where am I thriving? And Michael, you know this. You wake up every day doing things you love to do with people you love to do it, and so few are doing. Where do my passions meet my talents, where there's opportunity?
Wow.
And think about that. Yeah, for yourself and for those you love, figuring that out.
It's so cool. It's so inspiring. So tell me a little bit about GoBundance and just kind of the backstory and how you and David and Pat met. Maybe just for our listeners that don't know what GoBundance is, just give us the high level view and how you guys came together.
Sure. Well, first of all, GoBundance is a tribe for healthy, wealthy, generous people who choose to lead epic lives. And the reason I say people, it used to be just men that choose to lead epic lives. And recently we've started a women's tribe. There's FamBundance for families. So there's been some offshoots, and it's really grown into something beautiful. But it all started really with Pat and David met at a Dr. Fred Gross, Grosse, conference back in the late 90s, started a 2-man mastermind group, met me in 2004, and I think I brought a unique piece. They were just, at the time, up to 2004, how hard could you work? They had a contest, who worked the most hours in a day. They met me at a money conference, actually, a financial conference. They said, "What do you do, Tim?" I said, "I ski." They said, "What do you mean you ski?" I said, "Well, I worked hard. I sold a lot of homes. I invested wisely, and I'm selling everything into the Cali craze that's coming up. I'm selling everything right into the top, and I want to know what's next." But Like I buy one home a month, I flip it, and I spend like 25 days a month just hiking and skiing and abalone diving in the ocean, just thinking about what's my next incarnation? What am I going to do next? And then I come back and my team will have gotten that home ready to sell and a few homes ready for me to buy. And they were doing all the just kind of legwork of that flipping business. And we, so right when all of that was going down, we started talking about, what would it look like if we grew this? Because we went on small trips with 6 of us and 9 of us. Then we had our first event with 14, and then it grew to 35. And it always kept this really cool vibe of centered around our 6 pillars. So
that's really cool. And I love the 6 pillars. Of the 6 pillars, we won't go into the depth on all 6 of them, but what do you kind of relate with the most?
I would say I take 3 of them, really seriously. Number 1, genuine contribution. I just really stand for that within our tribe because I've discovered, that part of my fulfillment is I get the gift of giving back. I get to lift people from all walks of life when we really concentrate on helping those that never get our message of figuring out where you fit and doing the hard work, inner work of vision planning, relationships, finances, and wellness to make that all happen. So number 1 would be genuine contribution. Number 2 would be age-defying health. I want to be hiking and skiing mountains when I'm 80 years old. And to do that, I need to stay thin. I need to move a lot. I need to, get the goods pretty much every day and avoid stress, and avoid injury. So that's number 2. And number 3, I'd say, is quality relationships. Every single team I want to be on, I want to be a valued member. I want to be respected by my by my peers as somebody who shows up and brings it every single day.
And sometimes it could be tears with the way that you're so authentic, and so it could be tears, right?
That's a fact. Yeah, there's
So I want to just to kind of step back a little bit. So you had mentioned, early on, taking time off. You were off for 25 days, and just for our listeners, and I guess even just a question for myself: were you always intentional about the way you structured your teams and businesses in your financial arena in order to make sure that you weren't stressed and you could take the time off that you really wanted with the goods in the woods, or did it take you a while to figure that out?
I think I've always had a high risk tolerance. Like back when I first started selling and investing in real estate, I'd literally go put properties in escrow I had no money for and write a 4 to 6 month escrow and go, all right, let's see your wizardry. How can you sell more? How can you just make this happen to come up with this $20,000 to buy this single family or this duplex? And then I just really hustled and did everything, came up with 16 of the 20, put $4,000 on a credit card. You know what I mean? Just did everything I could do just to get my foot in the door, get back to even. Oh, darn, it needs a new roof, an extra month or 2, and just always kind of hustling to get back to par to go play that game again. And
I really appreciate you being transparent about that, as I'm sure you are with everything. But, sometimes the gurus out there are teaching people, certain ways, and they don't really tell them the backstory. I mean, you were out grinding and hustling and, you sometimes putting things on credit cards and really making that happen. So I appreciate you just being open and honest about that. So you said something, and I don't even remember when you said this to me or if I heard you say it when you were giving a talk or what, but whether it's getting out of the rat race or it's a freedom percenter, whatever you want to call that number, how long have you essentially been living off your horizontal income?
I'm 60 and I quit listing and selling around 40 and just went to I'm just going to work like 4 or 5 days a month and just flip homes. And it took a little while for my real estate business to die because I was listing like 15 18 homes a month. And then just said, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm just going to take my team and I'm only going to buy like one home a month. And that I did that for about 5 or 6 years. And then when we moved up here to the mountains and I sold everything into the, like 2005 to 2007 craze, I've never actively bought another property myself. And it's kind of like this game I play. How little can I work and how much can I make? How little time can I spend on, that piece of it? Because I want to spend all my time in one life and with family and with getting the goods. And don't get me wrong, I weed my garden. You know what I mean? I take care of biz, but it's fun being, I'll send you to pass on to your listeners this thing, 5 levels of financial freedom. And I'm at the 5th level where I only water ski in others' wakes. Like I'm interested to see, your syndications, Mike, I'm looking for, people like you that do amazing things, because my friends like Andrew Cushman, there's just the wise ones aren't finding deals left and right. You know what I mean? They're being really picky. And so, an investor like me that just wants to find talented people like you that know what the heck they're doing. And I like you, I trust you, and I know what to expect. Things don't always go right, but, those are the kind of people you want to place your money with.
So just for our listeners that maybe don't yet invest passively or whatever. So you said that you haven't actively bought a property for some years. So just to, I guess, compound, you're still investing. You're just now investing passively with other operators and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, let me give you an example. One of the income streams I've created for myself is a entity called DAPT, David, Andrew, Pat, and Tim. David Osborne, Pat Hyben, Andrew Cushman, and myself. And we've bought somewhere 10 to 12 apartment complexes over the last 8 years. And Andrew's our horse.
Nice.
And we raised the money for it. And I'm on the ownership end of that. So not only do we get Andrew's just amazing at investing, I get that part of the premiums, and when we sell them, I get a nice back end nug. So this is a really good example of using, the people that Andrew's amazing. I coached him as a real estate investor, and I brought him to the team. And David could qualify for the loans, and we could all raise money. So think about, how can you, as this listener, utilize people like and trust to do things with, and make damn sure you hold up your end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're a great partner in this. But that's an example of I make $100 to $200 a year off this one little income stream that came out of nowhere.
Wow.
So,
that's amazing. So for the listeners out there, that the reason why I want to bring amazing people like Tim on the podcast is to show you that there's many different ways to accomplish this, but Tim's a living example of, he refuses to be stressed. And that doesn't mean he doesn't ever have any stress hit him, but Tim, you've learned how to deal with that. And so Tim's a real world example of choosing the life that he wanted to live, as he called it, his most fulfilling life, which he gave us some examples. I just really appreciate Tim for that. And so I just want to make sure we don't wax over that or just move on too quickly, because you can have whatever you want out of life. It's just being intentional. It's about relationships. And the one thing that I just really heard you say, Tim, is surrounding yourself with the right people and teams in order to help make you successful as well, right?
Yeah. And I want to say something to the, wherever you are listening to this, wherever you find yourself, just think of the statement Tony Robbins said, your past doesn't equal your future. And I'd like to think I've gone from one of the more selfish people you'll ever meet as a teenager. I was a lost soul. My parents split up. I was angry. as one of the most selfish people you'll ever meet. And now I say this humbly, I'm one of the most selfless people you'll ever meet. And I just, just that transition over time has been an amazing ride. And you got it. I've just done a lot of work on state management. And when you have mastermind buddies like David Osborne and Pat Hyben, you better work on your freaking state, because they're going to figure out where your weaknesses are and pick at you until you change them. And not because they're bastards, it's because they love you and they want you to become your best selves. And to this day, sometimes they drive me freaking nuts, and it's driving me to be a better person, and I love them for it.
That's so awesome. That I'll tell you, I think I've shared this with you before, Tim, but for our listeners, I think that's one of the main reasons that I found GoBundance, or GoBundance found me. I was looking for, one of the other pillars is authentic relationships, which I think is one of the top 3 that you said you really look for. Yeah. But that's what I was really looking for. I knew that in order to become a better version of myself, I needed some deeper, authentic relationships. And so I really appreciate what you guys have built in the tribe, and how you've just created these pillars that are just so amazing. So, just circling back on what you had talked about a little bit, of you becoming one of the most giving people in the world. And again, it's not a brag. You really literally are. When it comes to genuine contribution, you're the guy that's always there, just encouraging, helping. But maybe this is a good time to get into One Life Fully Lived. You had mentioned a passion. And so how did all this come about? I want to really dig in on this, because this is such an amazing organization. And number one, the fact that you've been so intentional about your life. It wasn't always perfect. You had a lot of challenges, and we can go into any of that you want to. But all this kind of led to, where you're at in this amazing organization, and really just wanting to give back. So I'm going to let you just kind of take us wherever you want on what you're doing today and what this organization is. And let's just dig in on it.
All right. So let me tell you my why. If you remember, I was saying what a lost soul I was at 15 years old. I grew up here in the mountains, and I'm living in Oakland, California. And my mom moved there and left my dad. She just decided she wants a life of her own. She and her new guys drinking like a gallon of wine a night. And, I just had no adult supervision. It was a really fun time, but I was just lost. And I also had a lot of talents in me, but they were just being wasted because I didn't know what to do. So flash forward, I have all this time thinking about what's next. I'm 40 to 50, and I'm thinking about what I want to do. And I knew I wanted to serve in a big way. And my dad was a teacher, and I knew I wanted to be, like teaching. And as I told you, I'd gone to Tony and saw Zig Ziglar and Wayne Dyer and Jim Rohn and been through Dale Carnegie's and Toastmasters, and just gone through so much self-education to kind of learn how to just keep growing and thriving and evolving into the next incarnation. So I wanted to, it struck me as I skied my 7th day in a row once with Christopher Lochhead and another guy named Colin. And Colin said, I could do this every single day of the year. And I said, you know what? I can't. You selfish bastard. How can you? You're living this amazing life, and you see people hurting. You see angry, lost souls out there not knowing what to do to create an amazing life for themselves. So I started One Life in 2011. And what we do is we have events, and we created a One Life roadmap journal that teaches, number one, that fulfillment triangle. Where do my passions meet my talents? Where there's opportunity, where can I fit in and thrive? That's what you want in life. And number two, what in the heck am I going to do to get there? Vision planning, where am I going? Finances, how can I earn more, invest wisely to get somewhere? And then relationships with myself, who's my posse, who's my mentors, and wellness. How can I be fit in my mind, body, and spirit to pull off this amazing life? So that's what One Life is about, is just helping people learn the inner coding to creating your most fulfilling life possible.
So let's dig in on that a little bit more. So you are the events the main driver of this, or is there other ways that people can engage with One Life Fully Lived?
There's the events are good. We have 5 all over the country. And you go to onelifefullylived.org, either the number 1, onelifefullylived.org, or onelifefullylived.org, ONE. And you'll see we have 5 events there. We also have something called the Contributor Club. For at different levels, you can get like $49 a month. You get our 12 master classes with amazing presenters like Jeff Hoffman, Robert Kiyosaki, David Osborne. My coach, Phil Toll, who saved Metallica, is on our call tonight, actually. So for $49 a month, they get the master classes. And then at different levels, we get baller coaches in each areas that know how to earn, invest, meditate, fitness, relationship coaches. Every single thing we teach, we have people at mastery levels helping those on their way and well on their way, pay somewhere between $99, and we have some paying $4.99 a month for extra coaching for them that helps our programs to lift those that never get this. And we've taken that from $3,000 a month last year up to $150,000 a year this year in the Contributor Club.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So I have a friend, he's a fellow GoBro. His name's Brent. He was telling me, are you guys doing an event? You got an event coming up in Detroit or something like that?
Yeah. That's going to be November 9th, I believe. It's a Thursday. It's the second Thursday in Detroit, in November. And that is going to be Jamie Gruber's helping put it together. And as is Brent Welling from Detroit. Yeah. So that'll be amazing. He hasn't committed yet, but we're 90% sure Jeff Hoffman's coming to that.
Nice.
And doing the finances piece.
So when you go in and do these events, is it just like in a classroom style? Who can come to these? For your listeners, we do the One Life Roadmap Workshop. Okay. And
this is for adults and teens and families to bring their mature kids and offices. We're doing one in Sacramento next week. A company called Gutter Glove from Sacramento's bringing their 26 employees that install gutters because they want them to learn our One Life basics, and they're a very progressive company that cares about their employees. So they're bringing their whole team to this. Okay. And then while we're in Sacramento, we're going into juvenile hall there for the 4th year with like my friend Will Little, who does street poetry. And then we're going into 2 different high schools. And we're also doing this awesome experiment. We're coming over to the Bay Area and going into this boarding house for people who are kind of like, either clean and sober or a halfway house. They've been placed there and they're like 20 to 40 just trying to figure stuff out. And so we're going to bring our roadmap crew in there and just facilitate like a 2-hour experience where we walk them through vision planning, finances, relationships, and wellness, and have them come out with a plan for, all right, where am I going from here? And some of these people are like schizophrenic and we have no idea what we're walking into there. So, but we love it because our hearts are in the right place and our material's solid and we believe in it.
Wow, that's amazing. It's so cool how the organization just gives at all levels. It's pretty impressive. Tim, what do you think brought you here? What motivated you to start this organization and get involved?
That's the funniest thing. I have no idea, Michael. I was just called. I was just like, I had no idea why I was working so hard while I was in the trenches, not talking nice to myself, by the way. Having my self-talk back in the day was, you suck. Show me something. You haven't done anything. Come on, show me something. And it wasn't fun, and now my self-talk, as you can tell, I love myself, and I love who I've evolved into. But back then it wasn't. But I was just pushing to get financially free. I never knew why. And then as soon as it was like, all right, I'm tapping out. I was like Barry Sanders retiring at the top of his game. It's like, all right, I'm done making money. Now what? I don't know. Just go get the goods. You'll figure it out. Go out in the boonies, figure this stuff out. I spent a lot of time out there just asking, allowing, and just letting the game come to me, and GoBundance evolved from it, and One Life evolved from it. And now, dude, I know my purpose. I know why I wake up every day. I live for podcasts like this. I live to go into that. When we go into that workshop I told you about for the adults, for when we go into Juvie, when we just get all these different places to beta test what we're doing and get better and better and better, and just serve at a higher level.
Awesome. That's really cool, man. So for the listener, and you don't give this impression at all, but I always like to pull it back to this. So for the listener that here's, okay, yeah, great, Tim, you had real estate, you did this, you built out a nonprofit. And again, for you don't even give this air off at all, because you're just a awesome dude. But for the listener that's like living paycheck to paycheck and really just wants to figure out how to, get some more income coming in, or work on his mindset, or whatever it is, for what advice would you give for that person?
I would take a good look inside. Just slow down, get off your hamster wheel, and go to your happy place. Maybe for me, it was the boonies. Maybe it's a glass of wine or doobie. I don't, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is for you. Maybe it's going to the park with the kids. Maybe it's church, but whatever it is, just slow down and think about every single thing you're doing in every area that I talked about: vision planning, finances, relationships, and wellness. And what do you need to change? What do you really need? What habit is holding you back? What person has a hold of your legs that maybe you need to, change a relationship or something? But what is it? And maybe it's you, but do the hard work of, asking, where can I be better, and what can I do that I'm not doing, and what am I willing to give up, to pay the price for this amazing life I want. In 1997, I was living in a town I didn't like, doing what I was sick of doing, barely breaking even. And in that place, I wrote a dream that I'd be living up in the mountains, getting the goods in the woods, doing something amazing with an amazing view. And I'm not that intelligent of a guy. I'm just tenacious. And I ask you to be as tenacious for your life, because I think you're worth it.
Wow, that's amazing. So just to get a little tactical on that, when you wrote that in 1997, did that set you on a different path? Because you had mentioned earlier I don't remember how you said it, but you were pretty uptight or an angry guy or whatever early on. Was this like, did you kind of follow that process? 1997, you wrote it out, and the next week you were there, or did you?
No, you know how it goes. That was a huge data point, but there were other ones. Like, I used to treat my body horribly. I chain smoked cigarettes from 14 to 35. And those are my two regrets, is that bad self-talk. I wish I was nicer and enjoyed the ride more. And I wish I didn't chain smoke cigarettes from 14 to 35. Lucky I'm 60 and very, very healthy. But that changed my life a lot, is that was a bad habit. I got rid of eating lousy and treating my body, not good. And now I eat really, really well. I'm very, I rest a lot. I cheat. I call it cheating. I take a nap pretty much every day. And just kind of go in two sprints. I get up really early. I go like noon. I drop for an hour. I have a nice cup of tea with honey in it. Boom, here we are on round 2. I
love it.
So, yeah.
One of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, always says that the eyes only see and the ears only hear what the brain is looking for. So back to 1997, you literally wrote this out that you were going to be elsewhere. And so, I think I commend you for that first off, but that's so powerful, just like kind of resetting your future. And
Yeah. And I look at it and you're right. It really did lock in this fantastic voyage Tina and I took. And she was a part of it. She set the table every day to help me do the wizardry I needed to do to pull that all off. But we were in a place, that really wasn't suiting us. We were fish out of water in the valley, and we both wanted to live up in the mountains. And we were so I thought I'd be there around 2003, which for two reasons. Number one, my daughter was graduating then, and it just, I wasn't quite ready. And number two, the market wasn't ready for me to, tap out yet. So
wow.
It was, yeah. So we meant to do it in like 5 to 7 years where we'd move, but we actually moved. It was 7, 8 years later. And I never looked back and haven't been back there, never sold another home, never, bought another rental, just whole new incarnation onto the next. So
that's amazing. So Tim, what else, anything else you'd like to tell my listeners that maybe we haven't talked about, or anything you'd like them to know?
I just like to go back to that person who's, living paycheck to paycheck and really struggling with all this. You might want to buy our One Life Roadmap journal that has that core 4 teachings in there. And it's a really good product to help you master the basics, the fundamentals of creating your best life. And there's a lot in there with the financial piece and those financial ABCs. And it's just the basic workings to dream, plan, and create your most fulfilling life possible. I'd say that's a great place to start. And it's a year's journal, and it's really good for you, and it's good for you to buy one for you. And also you're just getting out in the world, kids. Great Christmas gift and graduation gift. And we have a student version, and we're just coming out with the adult version for those out in the world. So.
Okay, so for the first 20 listeners that shoot me an email at team@investingforfreedom.co, we'll go ahead and send out 20 free journals. And for the rest of you, just make sure you go to onelifefullylive.org and check out Tim and everything they've got going on. So, Tim, you had mentioned that you would send the 5 levels of financial freedom to our listeners.
Yeah, I'd be happy to send that over. And I'll also send a copy of my dream from 1997 and a blank dream and another example so you can write out your dream. And I want you guys to think about, where am I going with all of this? And this is what I thought of from 25 to 40 is what's that next incarnation? How can I get to that place where in 97 I wrote, all right, now it's my tapping out dream, So this is all about kind of like that's your marathon plan. And then what you're going to do this year, this quarter, this month, this week, and today is your sprint plan. And every day you hit the ground sprinting towards that marathon plan because you're worth it.
Tim, we really appreciate that. If our listeners also send an email to team@investingforfreedom.co and just put 5 levels of financial freedom in the subject line, we'll go ahead and get that over to you.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, Tim, I really appreciate you being on with us, and just really love talking through your generosity and everything you got going on. So it's been amazing.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, thanks so much for having me on. And it's been my sincere pleasure. And I hope that someday you're at a GoBundance level and you can join us on one of our many adventures and, get it at a high level. But along the way, man, just enjoy the ride and keep on rocking the free world, everyone.
If you found value in this episode and you know someone who's wanting to start or move further along in their journey toward investing for freedom, I would be forever grateful if you would share this show with them and help me get this message out to more listeners. Also, if you enjoy what you've heard, I would appreciate it if you'd take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review and share this with your friends. And until the next episode, cheers to moving further along in your journey of investing for freedom.